Protests have been ongoing in Seattle for the last couple of weeks. Ground zero of those protests is in an area that is currently called the Chaz, or the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. The Chaz is about 1.5 miles away from Restorative Capitalism headquarters. So I wanted to take the opportunity to go down there firsthand, talk to a few people, and learn a little bit more about what's happening right by our home. Before I go into that, I want to give a little bit of background in that my politics tend to be conservative. I take a conservative perspective to most things. I am an economic freedom maximalist. I believe in the individual and maximizing freedom for the individual. So when I see things that appear to be communist to me or Marxist, I consider them to be a threat. So I have to admit that going to the Chaz, or the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, feels risky to me. It feels threatening to me. When I woke up this morning, I saw a tweet from Brandy Cruz that said, the police are not planning to respond to any activity in the Chaz unless there is a mass casualty event. So that makes going over there a little scary. But I'm going to do it anyway because I think there is an important thing for us to learn. And that is that we need to go and interact and talk with people that have different viewpoints from our own. So I recruited a friend of mine to ride over there with me, and we did a few interviews. In this video today, I'm going to show you 3 interviews. I'm going to give you a recap of what we learned by visiting the Chaz, and I'm going to give everybody that's watching a call to action. This is Restorative Capitalism. Let's get started. So what are we, bourgeoisie? Is that what we're called?
Bourgeoisie.
Is that what we're called?
Yeah, why not?
So this is coming from the middle of Wallingford,
Yeah.
the Wallingford Autonomous Zone, the WAZ?
Yes,
is that where we are?
We on the WAZ, yes.
And we're gonna go check out the Chaz.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, we got the e-bikes. Got the e-bikes. They look a lot like cops. Like that's what a cop would wear or drive,
Yep,
whatever.
Yep. What's your top speed?
30 miles an hour.
Okay, so that's good escape velocity.
Yeah, so 30 miles. So yeah, worst case, 30 miles an hour, we get the hell out of there.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so we'll tell you more later. Stand by. All right, so right in front of me here is the area where most of the protests happened, and there was the police lines, and there was a lot of the tear gas and that kind of stuff. And some of the live feeds were taken from right up there in that building. So there's these borders here. You are entering Capitol Hill Free Zone. There's a bunch of people sitting on couches. Lots of people milling around. So far, no real protests, or haven't seen any weapons or anything. Yeah, we'll keep milling around a few minutes and see what we find. So that right there, I think, is the part of the building that the fire got started at. Oh, hey, there's something going on over here. I'll explain to you what happened.
Yeah.
I'll explain to everybody else.
Yep.
But there was a guy that went up on stage and grabbed the speaker on the stage, and he was saying something about Jesus Christ. He wasn't doing it through dialogue. He was doing it through action, and I don't think that's the right way to convey the message. While he probably has good intentions, I think it's true on all sides that acting outside of dialogue is probably not the right way. So that's what just happened there while we were talking. And what I was trying to say is that behind me there is where there was a fire the other morning, and there was somebody that set the outside of this on fire at 3 a.m. There's video of it that the police are looking for the individual, and I think the flag there is covering the area where that fire occurred. Okay, the name of my YouTube channel is called Restorative Capitalism, and I don't know your name. Okay, but you don't need to say it. So I'm talking to an individual here at the Autonomous Zone here in Capitol Hill, and this individual is part of the security team here. And I was just dialoguing and saying that in the time that I've been here, I've felt safe.
Yeah.
I've had some good conversations with people. And Seattle is a place where I can come in here and I can say, hey, I have conservative viewpoints, and I'm not kicked out. I think there's been some videos and some communication otherwise to that effect. So I just wanted to ask somebody down here, what is it that, what's the message that you want to communicate to my audience?
You started by calling it the autonomous zone. We immediately removed ourselves from that title because of the concerns it was giving the conservative side of things. We're not a separatist movement. We're not Antifa. We're not terrorists. We're concerned members of the community that want to remain members of the community. So we've actually changed the acronym. We're no longer using Chaz, we're using CHOP. CHOP means Capitol Hill Occupy Protest. It's still a protest. It's an Occupy movement. It's nothing else. So that's our main goal. Our goal here is to get the Seattle PD defunded, not completely. We're hoping for at least $100 million out of their $400 million budget to be taken from the police department and put directly back into public works and into community projects like housing, homeless intervention resources, drug addiction resources, the kind of things that put people in prison in the first. Some of the misallocated ways that policing is being used right now, if we took that money from policing, put it back in the community, it would negate, we believe that it would negate the need for that portion of the police, and then the police could go back to doing the things that they really need to do, solving murders and violent crimes. You know, we don't think the police are a thing that completely needs to not exist, but we do believe it needs to be defunded and that money needs to go back into the community, and that's it.
Awesome. So one other question that I've been wondering is, I've seen a lot of focus on Black Lives Matter, which is absolutely something I think that basically almost everybody agrees with, including my audience.
It's getting harder and harder to disagree.
And and I guess the main thing I wonder though is I see a lot of conflation of that statement with capitalism, and I think there's some differing views about capitalism. Do you think those are the same thing, like Kshama Sawant is saying, or do you think they're kind of different things and multiple issues coming into this?
Yeah, it is an issue. Like, for example, there was a guy here selling Black Lives Matter's t-shirts to the audience, and that's not condoned. That's not like part of our movement. We're not making any money off of that. That's a third-party guy who came in for himself. Anyone who's capitalizing on this movement, I doubt is actually part of the movement, if that makes sense. Like people will capitalize on whatever they can, to be honest. And I think in this crowd, there's a lot of people, like most of these people are with the Black Lives Matter movement, but there are, like, we've seen evidence of agitators in the crowd. We've seen evidence of just some really weird stuff that we know isn't from our people, you know? So as far as the capitalization of everything goes, I don't actually think that's us. I think that's people trying to make the most of an opportunity, just like anything else. Just like the looters in the first couple days of this protest. This protest has been going on over 2 weeks now, and there was looting in the first few days. But ever since we moved up to this Capitol Hill zone, and especially since the police force left, it's been nothing but peaceful.
Okay. Cool. And I have a small business with my family that is a capitalist enterprise. I also have a job where I exchange my labor for compensation.
Right.
Those are both things that I consider to be capitalism. And I know when I hear a message from some of the protesters that, like, you can't be anti-racist without being anti-capitalist, I can't really reconcile that. And I'm like, that's kind of a thing where I like to come to things with the most respectful interpretation, but I feel like I have wires crossed in trying to get that.
I don't think that's actually a popular ideal. I think that's an ideal that might be being blown up in conservative media. This whole country runs on capitalism. Are you telling me that all 5,000 people here are socialists? No, that's not true. We're a capitalist society. We run on, I have a job. I'm not here doing this. I'm going to leave here and go work 8 hours at a 40-hour-a-week job. I mean, I'm part of a capitalist society, and I believe in it. That doesn't mean that I don't think there's reform that can be made.
Cool.
But I don't think this movement has anything to do with the actual monetary side of things. I don't think defunding the police is going to affect your job or my job or the average citizen. in much of a way except to feel more protected.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the point where we could have a disagreement to some degree and a discussion about it.
Yeah.
And I can come to this and I can say that
Absolutely.
and not feel threatened.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
okay.
And you
cool.
haven't felt threatened the whole time you've been here?
No.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a conservative in Seattle for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And to me, being a conservative actually means respecting other people's viewpoints, trying to understand them, coming with the most respectful interpretation, and the same kinds of feelings that you see when you're seeing conservative media. I know a lot of other conservatives would feel when they see liberal media, and I think we all need to get better discernment about what our people are actually after. So,
well, what I've found that's crazy about the media is that both sides are spinning their story, and I haven't found, being here on the ground versus seeing the news coverage, I haven't found a station or a media group that has covered this properly on the left or the right. I think they're both spinning the story the way they want. And I think if you really want to get a bird's eye view, if you really want to see what's going on here, tap into Facebook and Twitter and all of these social media platforms where people have live streams.
Yeah.
Because the live streams aren't edited. They're hardly adulterated. It's a way better way to form your own opinion. You know, after this experience, I'm never gonna wholeheartedly trust a media group ever again on the right or the left.
And let's make that something that we all kind of do, because I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah.
And great.
I saw misinformation coming from Fox and from CNN. So, you know, I don't think it's a left or a right issue. I think the transparency in media is a huge issue right now across the board.
Cool.
It's scary.
That's the only reason I won't
Great.
go there.
Yeah,
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate your time.
absolutely.
Have a good one. All right, so I'm on the border here of the Chaz, which has a new name, I think.
CHOP.
CHOP.
Capitol Hill Occupied Protest.
And I'm talking to one of the folks that is, you said a community ambassador or something like that, on the edge of that's looking to answer questions for people that are coming in and do a few other things. So
Yeah, exactly.
what's your mission in standing out here at the border?
To tell you the truth, it's just someone in the community came and asked me and my girlfriend at the time to come man the barricades. And so I feel like there's a reason that there needs to be people here, so I might as well fill that niche when I have the free time to do so.
Cool. And then have you, in your time here, felt safe?
Oh, absolutely. I've never felt really safer in my life. There's no other place I can go and just walk up to anyone in here and just say, "Hi, my name is so-and-so. What do you think about this interesting matter?" And then they will just answer truthfully, and then we'll get stuck in a conversation for hours and hours. I've never had that experience before, since, the closest thing I've had is like a farmer's market. I've worked those, and all I do there is just yell at people to come buy my stuff. And so having a place where I can be fully human is just invigorating.
Cool. And
Water over there.
Water?
so I'm a conservative. I have conservative viewpoints.
Absolutely.
And would you advise that if I was to go in here, would I be safe if I was to communicate that broadly?
Define broadly for me.
I mean, not like with a megaphone, right? But just in a conversation with somebody.
Oh, you will be absolutely safe. We try to be as welcoming as we can be. We even have this place called the Conversation Cafe, where a whole bunch of people just brought some couches. You can just sit down, join in any conversation, and just express your views. Cool. I think that you, or really anyone who's interested in coming here, would be safe.
And I think one of my positions is that the right way to approach issues is through conversation and dialogue and understanding, and really taking a most respectful interpretation of different views. Would somebody from the police be accepted to come if they took that perspective of conversation and dialogue?
Well, the police are down there right now.
Oh, they are?
They're at the police station.
Oh, so did they go in there today?
Yeah, I think it was yesterday. There's a few of them in there right now.
Okay. And that's, one of the things I wouldn't wonder is if some of the police were to have a conversation with some of the organizers and find some common ground on some things, is that an acceptable position or a thing that you think could happen?
I'd say something like that might be a little bit above my pay grade. I ain't exactly a protest organizer or anything like that.
Is it okay if I point video at you?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. Ask me the question one more time.
So the question was about dialogue,
Uh-huh.
and if it would be acceptable if somebody from the police was to have a dialogue. Would they be safe in doing so if they came here with that intention?
I mean, I'd let a police officer come through the front gate.
Okay.
And you said you was a conservative too, right, sir?
I tend to have conservative perspectives and viewpoints, yeah.
Gotcha. I'm a registered Republican and retired out of the 2nd U.S. Infantry.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a story that I think a lot of people aren't picking up on without
No, that's
actually
what I
coming
hear.
Here, so.
I came out here to watch it. I came out here last Sunday to observe everything with my own eyes and watch the 2nd United States Federal Infantry tear gas civilians with the police department. And that's why I've been down here.
Okay.
Those weren't National Guard, partner. That was the actual Army.
Huh.
2nd U.S. Infantry.
Welcome, guys.
This is my second time coming down here, so
Gotcha.
I didn't witness any of that myself. But okay, so I had one more question about capitalism, and I've seen some I think conflation of issues here, where there's a lot of people here that are focused on advocating for Black lives and for equal treatment of Black lives, and some people are conflating that with capitalism, saying you can't do that without unless you're anti-capitalist. Is that something that you agree with, or is it a common perspective, or was that just kind of a fringe view?
I mean, I wouldn't be able to speak on how many folks share that opinion. I can tell you that I myself am not an anti-capitalist by any means, and I'm really glad to see the hot dog man selling spicy hot dogs down there for $6 a pop. That made me real happy to see.
Nice.
As far as the concerns about the movement being centered around like dismantling capitalism or anything like that, I'm not sure that that's necessarily the goal out here. We're not trying to dismantle Western democracy or civilization in any way. I think we're just a little upset that our constables are acting with impunity.
Okay, great. I think cool. I look forward to sharing that message with people.
Of course. Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much, partner. I appreciate
Here, there we go. I'm recording.
Okay. Thoughts? You know, I just thought it was actually a lot more chill than I would have expected. I wasn't expecting a war zone there, but well, you know, it was kind of party-like, to be honest, and everyone seemed very friendly, apart from the occasional scuffle. But yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Okay, so we made it back and full round trip, Capitol Hill, downtown and back on the e-bikes. All pretty quick, so that's a great way to get around town. And I guess final thoughts here are, it's pretty easy for me to default to want to say, hey, everybody that's there is Antifa terrorist, because I feel threatened by communists. But I also think that the equivalent and opposition viewpoint would be to say, hey, all cops are bastards. And you know what? Taking either one of those positions is an extremist thing. And I think it's important for us all to go into zones where we don't feel comfortable. Like me walking into the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, a place where it feels threatening and it feels unsafe. And I needed to go check it out and talk to a bunch of people there. Got a few good videos, some interviews. There's a few people I talked to that I didn't get on camera. And what I found was there's a lot of different viewpoints there. And we can't look at everybody that's there and put them all into one group. Just like you can't look at everybody that has dark skin and put them all into one group. Just like you can't look at everybody that's a conservative and put them all into one group. And you know what's really important is that we talk about things. So that's my call to action to everybody watching this. No matter what your politics are, put yourself in a place that's uncomfortable. Go talk to people that have a different view than you. And you know what you're gonna find is that there's probably more in common between you and them than you think. So that's my thoughts for today. Thank you very much for watching.